Hello, hello. Welcome on into another episode of the Whiskey Crusaders. I'm Will.
I'm Matt.
On today's episode, we're talking about Oban 14, a single malt Scotch. Don't you forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Click that notification bell. Matt, you want to tell me a little bit more about this particular bottle?
I do. Well, it's not the most exciting bottle in the whole wide world. It's kind of plain and blah blah. But hey, whatever. They said the whiskey speaks for itself. We don't have to have fancy marketing or fancy bottles. I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's true. But it's good whiskey. First time I ever actually talked about Oban on the show, so we have a little fun history here for you. Founded in 1794 by John and Hugh Stevenson. They actually arrived in 1793 to set up a brewery, but decided a year later they needed to make Scotch instead. The original brewery they made had called Cowbell Ale. So very exciting. I think Oban was a better choice for something. Oban means little bay in Gaelic, so not exactly the most exciting thing, but that's what it is. They're on the bay, and it's a little bay. So good job, guys. Well, I guess I said people have been living in that area for 7,000 years because of the natural caves where the distillery was actually built. Up in the caves, and was actually built onto the straight up. It's at the sea level on the ocean. But over the years, they had as the town grew, it didn't get founded until 1811, and so they're actually around there for 15 years later or so, and they actually started moving the walls out as the city got bigger and bigger. So now it's 208 steps from the sea, so still very close. It's been run exactly the same way for 200 years. They still have two stills. They can't move. They're like I said, they're in this cave thing, so there's no way to expand. The whole place only takes up an acre, so it's a tiny little distillery. It's not the smallest. Edgedour is the smallest, but it's one of the smallest distilleries in Scotland. So that's kind of cool. Like I said, they're kind of wedged up in the Western Highlands. Only a couple of distilleries up there between the Hebridean Isles and the rest of the Highlands up in a barrenness compared to anything else up there. There's just not much up there. Like I said, they kept it in the family. In fact, they had a peephole installed into their living room so they could look, because it was attached to the distillery, so they could watch the distillery workers the other day. Kind of creepy, but I guess they said they have removed the peephole now, so that's kind of nice. So whatever. Eventually, like I said, they sold it in 1830 to Peter Compson, and then over the time, it was eventually owned by Altmore in 1898, Dewars in 1920, then Distillers Company, which of course is Diageo now in 1925. Some of the other fun things is they do a 5-day fermentation, which is a pretty long usually it's about 48 hours, but they do for 5 days, so quite a long time. They only do 6 things per week because they said they won't wrap up production because that's the way it's always been done. They're not changing it. It is what it is. In fact, their actual roof is a slate roof, and the slate roof can be removed so they can move equipment around easily, which is kind of cool. But the Stevenson family was actually also in the boating and slate business, so it makes sense why it's a slate roof. Pretty smart guys who use your own stuff. So it's one of those things. The whole place is run by 7 people, which is amazing. It's 7 people run this whole place by basically hand. There's not a whole lot of computers at this place. So that's pretty cool. The mill is the oldest current equipment they have. That's from 1930. So they're still using a 90-year-old mill, which is pretty cool that they're doing that. So, it's not the most wildly exciting history in the whole world, but, it's still interesting. So it is what it is. They have 4 wooden washbacks, and 3 of them are European lark, and 1 is Oregon pine. Now, one of the cool things, they do use a worm tub rather than condensers, which we like worm tubs to make your stuff more oily, better mouthfeel. So actually, I'm excited that they use that instead. It's one of those things. So what's in the bottle? It's 43%. Obviously, it's 14 years old. This came out in 1989, and it's because of the part of the classic malts, and it represents the Western Highlands. So that's it. So you got your little pretty little seagulls here on the front. So let's see what we think. But yeah, it says they'll never move, and it's never changed. It's never been expanded. It can expand. So they also have that going for them. Ooh, and they have a railroad since 1880. So it took almost 100 years to get a railroad up. Now, granted, they weren't invented quite then yet. Anyway, but it took a long time.
Ooh.
Smells fantastic, though.
It does smell fantastic. This is very stone fruit. I'm getting, and then peaches and pears. It's very.
Yeah, I got a lot of white grape, white peach, pears.
Yeah, and then there's a lime zest.
Yeah, super malty, like Fig Newtons even, I would say. It's a hint of smoke, a lot of salt, like sea salt.
Yeah.
Like seaweed. Very briny.
Sea salt bagel.
Ooh, yes.
It's like that. It's very doughy, almost yeasty still. I do smell
Yeah.
a bit of smoke. Just a wisp, though. It's just a little hint kind of floating back in the back.
Yeah, they said they do bring in all their peaches from Scotland. They don't say exactly where. It's not, they say it's not Islay, so I think it's all Highland peat that they're using, which would make sense. They're from the Highlands. But their malts actually come from Speyside up near Elgin, 160 miles away from the Bergheads malting. That's kind of cool. So they're pretty transparent what they're doing, which is kind of nice. Which a lot of Scotch, not so much that way, but they're pretty good. Yeah, in fact, their water source is 3 miles away from a lock. That's quite a ways to pump your water into usually your distiller, but you got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do.
All right, let's see.
Smells nice.
It smells great.
Mm. There's definitely more peat on the taste, on the palate than there is in the nose.
Way more. Lots of smoke.
It was just a thread to me on the nose, but wow, on the palate, it's pretty present.
Malty, very earthy peat. Definitely that forest, not that forest type peat, not the moss from Islay at all.
This reminds me of peat monster, earth monster, right? Just forest floor, mushroom fungal, and then a burning fire about 2 miles away that you're just kind of
I agree with that. Yeah, it's got like this milk chocolate too in there, and this like pears and a clean little raspberries and that same sea salt wrapped up in like a little fish. It's very nice. I really like that. It tastes really good.
Yeah. Get more of like a seaweed wrapper on there.
It's like the seaweed wrapper you get for like California rolls, I think.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah.
I like that. I think this would probably be really good with Japanese food, I bet.
I completely agree.
This is quite tasty. Our seafood in general would probably be good too.
A nice grilled fish.
Yeah. The other amazing thing is they make all the whiskey in 4 rooms in the distillery too. So I don't know. I guess it's a good thing it's only 7 people there. I think you probably get quick cramped in 4 rooms of whiskey making. Hope they all like each other a lot.
What's my price point?
60. So it's not bad.
It's not bad. I'm not mad about 60.
No, definitely not. Delicious stuff.
Yeah.
Well, all righty then.
Don't you forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Click that notification bell. We're also live every Monday night. Come hang out with us there. Until next time, keep on crusading for the whiskey in your glass. Cheers. All right.